the National Chocolate Day thing, was it a Jacobi Chebilante thing?
Yes.
Or it was, I don't remember, I think it was in 2008, 2009, there about that we said we were going to declare National Chocolate Day against Valentine's Day.
It was actually when Honorable Jacobi Chebilante was the Minister for...
I think it was tourism.
Tourism and modernization of the capital city. When he was the minister, he introduced the National Chocolate Day. And I think it was a savior for this country because the level of promiscuity we're seeing on our streets on the Valentine's Day was frightening.
Oh, Fifi, what are you saying?
Oh,
where is this
Sanda, I remember this was in 2000, is it 2001 or 2002? I was in Takwa then. It was Valentine's Day. the things I saw.
It was Ashawodi.
With my naked eyes. Charlie, God should save us. So it was refreshing. We introduced the National Chocolate Day. I think that the NDC don't like the National Chocolate Day. Oh yes. Oh, allow me to explain.
Okay.
Yes, the NDC, they don't like National Chocolate Day. Maybe because it was introduced by Jacobi Chebilante. And people like Nii Kpakpo, who is a gunman, should work towards protecting the legacy of Jacobi Chebilante, another gunman. When the NDC took over, I think it became an issue of only holding a ceremony, speeches are read, and then the day ends. When the MPP took over, and I am happy to say that I am one of the people who pushed for the rechristening of the National Chocolate Day to National Chocolate Week.
Oh, okay.
We actually moved it from a day's activity to a week. And you remember I had some engagement with you. We used to set up a chocolate city at the Tetequashe roundabout.
During the same February period?
Yes. So the week that leads to 14th, we'll have a number of activities during the week, and then we'll climax it on the 14th. I am happy to say that these activities led to 100% increase in the consumption of chocolate in Ghana.
Really?
Yes. 100% increase in the consumption of chocolate in Ghana.
As of which year?
As of 2023.
Okay.
Chocolate consumption had increased. The per capita consumption was 0.5 and then increased to 1. Okay. So something significant happened. Sadly, the whole week, even though we've been talking about cocoa and COCOBOD issues and all that, I have not heard COCOBOD make one statement about the National Chocolate Week.
COCOBOD is hot. The chocolate is the least of their worry right now. Now, if you
but it is the same government.
You not got food to eat, you say you want to go and buy desserts.
No, but you see, it is important to promote chocolate consumption.
Yes.
Because when you promote chocolate consumption, it dovetails into what government is looking at in terms of processing. Yeah. Because when you process and it is not consumed, then what is the essence of processing? Mm-hmm. You must first of all create the market. You must stimulate consumption. And that is when you do processing.
Maybe we don't have the taste for chocolate in Ghana.
And that's why you stimulate it. And I'm telling you that...
Can you force it?
No, you stimulate it. I'm telling you that we have done that and result has been achieved. So it is possible. Of course, all of us grew up with MPCA and Wache and TZ in the mornings, and we do that afternoon, evening. Chocolate really is considered a dessert of a sort, so we are not motivated to go for it, and then we even consider it expensive, something for the whites and all that. But culture is a way of life of a group of people over a period of time. Now you have a disposable income, so you can introduce your case to it. Others have disposable income. They can also introduce their case to it. And then we are building a new society, not the society where my father or my mom will only give me MPC in the morning or rice in the morning. So we introduce them to it. So if you have a situation where government has decided that such a laudable policy that has actually provided results is ignored, then there's something wrong being done. Of course, that's the only wrong things they are doing. We'll talk about the other things. But it is important to state that it's unfortunate that the new administration has decided to jettison the whole idea of chocolate promotion, which was it was actually going well. We're not only setting up in Accra, we're setting up in the other regions. Consumption was improving. But hey, here we are. NDC, they don't like chocolate. They decided to stop it.
So that's Fiifi Boafo. He is former head of public affairs at Ghana COCOBOD. The new person at COCOBOD is also a journalist. And Fiifi, before I even go to Nii Kpakpo, why journalists people like COCOBOD too much? Because the man who is heading COCOBOD
is also a journalist.
It doesn't mean when you were there, he saw you and he realized, Fiifi is enjoying, let me also go enjoy.
Me, I was a small boy, you. Me, I was a small boy at COCOBOD.
I used to listen to your director, you are an executive, chief executive in the office of the executive.
There's a clear difference between me and Dr. Randy Abbey. Fiifi. In fact, I even went there as a manager. And for a manager, you have a senior manager, you have a deputy director, you have a director. Before you go to deputy chief executive and to the chief executive. Oga koto kwata.
Nii Kpakpo. Nii Kpakpo.
I mean, there's some small boy doing errands at the office. You are comparing me to big man.
Nii Kpakpo Samoa Addo is a private legal practitioner, but now he seems to be a public legal practitioner because his title is Solicitor General at COCOBOD.
And Director Legal at that one.
Fiifi, is Solicitor General a new creation they've brought?
No.
It's always been there.
So yes, you always have usually the Director Legal for Ghana COCOBOD also serves as a Solicitor General for the board.
Okay.
So playing the role as the director. And then also, he's a big man.
He's a big man. Literally and figuratively and everything.
Oh, yeah, in fact, he's big.
Everything. How are you?
Not bad, my brother. How are you?
You're looking very good, eh? You're empowered.
You've always seen this.
You're even wearing a smock.
This smock was different level.
Yeah, this is a different level of smock. When you were in opposition, your smock didn't have a hat. Now you have a hat.
I've always had a smoke one.
What's your job description at COCOBOD? What do you do?
Oh, you're principally the
chief legal advisor.
So you're like the Attorney General of the COCOBOD.
Oh yeah.
Please. Let's not go there.
You are the Article 88 of the COCOBOD.
I beg you.
Oh wow, that's
let's just. Let's just end.
Fiifi Boafo said you people don't like chocolate, the NDC, and since you came this whole week, we haven't heard. In fact, and it's true.
They have collapsed Jake's legacy.
Fiifi is supposed to be the one who understands what he and his people left behind. The troubles that he has left behind, and he's the one supposed to be advocating for the new reforms that are being put in place to ensure that COCOBOD survives. So that one day his dream of becoming chief executive, I know, will materialize.
I'll ask you about the reform, but I just want specifically on Chocolate Day, you didn't do a good job. Or chocolate is not a COCOBOD thing?
Oh, no, chocolate is
last year they did not observe it. This year they've forgotten about it.
You had a bigger fish to fry.
We have a lot of issues this year. But
so because of that, you check. I will
ask Jerome what the program was. Honestly, I know there was a lunch. There was a chocolate day lunch. Well, I am not. I know it was in the middle.
But wait, no proceed.
Yes.
Now, there's something very worrying. Yes. I'm hearing. Director Legal, Ghana COCOBOD, says that there was a launch of Chocolate Week celebration. He does not even know where it happened.
No, wait a minute.
He doesn't know when the program is taking place, what the activities are. It tells you that, you know what, even him, he doesn't consider it useful. How much more Omar Sanda who sent at
see the kind of mischief that I know there was.
Okay, so tell us about the program. Tell us about it.
Hold on.
I'm trying to see if I can find the story. I've just found the story. Fiifi, shame on you.
You see?
Shame on you.
It is so irrelevant.
Wait.
You didn't know about it.
No. Ghana News Agency. I don't like what you're doing. I know what you're doing, but I don't like what you're doing.
Maybe it's mysterious.
Listen, GNA.
And you know the funny thing is that the director, wait a minute, the director legal, his office is actually directly opposite the public
PR.
affairs.
Oh,
He and Jerome.
And he is not even aware.
please, I said it. I told you that was the
No, he
program.
did. He said so. GNA. In fact, let me see. Is that somewhere in the photo? Okay, he's not the photo. I would have been shocked. So National Chocolate Month 2026 launched. It's not even week.
Yes.
They have expanded it from week to month.
Yes.
And this GNA to promote cocoa consumption
As for
tourism.
launching,
Story was published on February 12, 2026 by GNA. Hafsa Obin, my own Hafsa Obin, my senior from Ghana Institute of Journalism.
you are going to
this
worsen
story.
their case because all the things they talked about doing, they've not done any of them. You go ahead and
Listen
read
to
the
this
story.
story.
Don't
Madam
buy Fiifi.
Ablaji Fagoma, she's the Minister for Tourism, Culture and Creative Arts, has launched the 2026 National Chocolate Month celebration with a call on Ghanaians to consume more locally made chocolates to support farmers, industry growth, and national development. The celebration, which coincides with Valentine's Day on February 14, is on the theme Eat Cocoa, Stay Healthy and Grow Ghana, with the sub-theme Experience Ghana, Share the Cocoa Love. Madam Gomashi said, let me see if there was any COCOBOD person there.
They'll definitely, they'll always link up.
Oh, yeah. Okay. I want to know the activities they plan for the month launch
the
activity.
Mrs.
A full
Efua
month.
Guajeto, the Chief Executive Officer of Ghana Tourism Authority, was there. They have not quoted anybody from COCOBOD.
No, but there's always a link.
But,
Professor William Kofi, Managing Director, Cocoa Processing Company, said that it was
no, he's not a staff of COCOBOD. That's a different organization.
okay. Mr. Sam Jerome, okay.
Yes.
Head of Corporate
You
Affairs,
see?
COCOBOD.
You see?
He was there.
Oh.
I want
Fifi,
to know. No, listen.
It's one month.
There's different. You see, when you launch a month whole activity,
Fifi will justify.
you will need to undertake some activities, and it has to make an impact. It is not just to go organize media people, read speeches,
First, there was
and
no
go
celebration.
and
No,
go to
Fifi,
sleep.
they've
Now-
done more. Listen to this story. Listen to this story.
Yes.
Minister for Youth Development and Empowerment, George Addo, offer chocolates, not sex, on Valentine's Day. This is big.
You know, this
Ghanaian Times
is
has reported this.
rhetorics.
Hey.
Kasa, Frama.
So first there was no celebration.
There's actually even a bigger problem for you, Fifi. This is citynewsroom.com.
Oh, now finally, City had.
Yes. Listen to this. Minority rejects chocolate week gifts over cocoa price cap.
Oh, you are. See?
Oh no.
Nation records.
Yes.
You want me to go in there?
Oh.
No. They said the new Patriotic Party MPs in Parliament have allegedly rejected chocolates distributed by the Minister for Tourism, Arts and Creative Arts and Culture, Ablaji Fagoma, to mark National Chocolate Week in protest against the government's recent reduction in the producer price of cocoa. The minority argued that the decision to slash the cocoa producer price from 3,000 to 2,000 has worsened the hardship facing cocoa farmers, and that's where I think we should start this conversation from.
Let me state this quickly.
You are not a minority MP, so
wait, I'm not. But then you brought in this. I'm telling you, I was the chairman of the committee, and I have some knowledge, and just allow me to share.
Okay.
So yes,
These are the things you should be bringing. You should be bringing to us instead of
during the MPP administration, National Chocolate Week we actually got the Speaker of Parliament, majority and minority leader, to be promoting, and we got media people, everyone talking about it. Even the director legal here is not even aware of the activities to promote it.
He was
He's
busy.
come back.
Busy doing what?
He's busy helping cabinets come up with
He's come back to the same thing. When I
So
said
I am only saying that this was a weekly activity, and it had a lot of things to be done. So if you escalate it to 1 month and there is no activity, there's nothing happening. In fact, what happens on the 14th? Just go around and give chocolate, and that is enough. No, I'm telling you, during my time handling this, we had even an arrangement with banks where banks were giving chocolate on Chocolate Day.
Okay, that's fine. So
they have just
Kpakpo,
called a press conference, talk to the media, pay them solely, and then
hey, don't talk about that in public. Let me introduce someone who used to host the show I host now when I was a cowboy at Astra Junction, Paul Adumotri, first host of Eyewitness News and host of Good Evening Ghana on Metro TV. Welcome.
Thank you very much, and
good
morning to your viewers.
Good morning. Paul, why do you have two separate glasses? I'm always been curious. I see you on TV
Sorry,
interchanging them.
I have to apologize. I'm not able to do what they call the bifocal, where you can have both the reading and the sight in one lens.
So one for reading, one for looking at me.
I apologize.
But they're same colors. Why?
Well, I have some knack for red, so.
You like red?
Yes.
Which means you are celebrating Valentine's Day today well.
Yeah. Happy Valentine to everyone who is watching.
But they say the chocolate thing, we are not seeing it. Do you see the chocolate celebration?
This year? No, not quite. I mean, it's very obvious that
but I don't...
The PR for chocolate would have started 2 weeks ago. I've not heard anything on radio, no jingle, reminding us of it being a chocolate day and all of that. I mean, I think that's a great initiative. That's one of the positive initiatives that have come out of COCOBOD over the years. So perhaps we should hold on to it. I'm not sure what has happened this year, but usually there's quite a bit of promotional activity.
Kpakpo said they were busy frying a bigger fish. So
okay.
Kpakpo, that's what I want us to start from. Talk to us about this.
What I said, please, before Fiifi mischief becomes fact. I said we had a celebration. You checked. And it was a 1 month celebration.
Yes, you have launched a 1 month celebration. As whether you are celebrating is another matter.
Oh, that's a different matter.
Okay.
But clearly, we have not abandoned the initiative that they did.
Okay.
We have continued the good things that they did. Of course, we can't also continue. So when we take the liabilities and the assets, the liabilities, when they are outlined, they must own up to the liabilities that they left behind. Okay. And then we'll make progress.
Nii Kpakpo, talk to us about this cocoa reforms that cabinet announced. So there was a quick cabinet meeting and then an announcement. It was almost like you wanted to reduce the thing, but you wanted to give it presidential endorsement. That's how it looks like.
No, not at all.
Talk to us about this decision that you took and what went into it.
Not at all. You see, we came to meet a cocoa sector that was literally on its knees. You understand? And it is important to state what the state of COCOBOD was as at 2024 when the Dr. Randi administration came in 2025. I'm sure my boss has done an interview here already where he laid out what he came to meet. And by way of just reiteration, as at year-end 2024, the debt that he came to meet was approximately 33 billion Ghana cedis. That was the debt situation. Say 32.9, approximately 33. That translates to a negative equity of 3.8 billion Ghana cedis. So literally, COCOBOD was insolvent. That was the position as at 2024, year end. In 2026, when NDC was leaving power, 2016. I always say 2026. 2016. 2016.
They will not be equal.
2026. The company had a positive equity of 1.8 billion. So
not negative.
Not negative. So what Dr. Randi Abe's administration came to meet was a company that was what? Financially insolvent. That's critical. Now, I've had the privilege of chaired the committee that drafted the new bill, and God willing to be put before Parliament in the coming days. And what it seeks to do is to take COCOBOD and the cocoa industry into a new direction. Now, the past administration initiated the concept of a new bill because they realized in the turnaround strategy paper that they prepared that the 1984 bill was not fit for purpose anymore. So the groundwork in terms of the appointment of a consultant for the drafting of a new bill started in the past administration. Some initial work was done, but it suffered some stalemate. But once Dr. Randi Abe came in, one of my first marching orders was to put together the bill, and we did that probably in about 3 months. The focus is primarily on about 3 or 4 areas. One is to stop, based on the experience that we've had, to make it impossible for COCOBOD to do or engage in non-core activities anymore. So now we've even criminalized, if the bill is passed, it criminalizes any act that is not in tandem with the core mandate of COCOBOD.
What are the core mandates of COCOBOD for education?
Yes, COCOBOD is basically the the vehicle to regulate the cocoa industry. So we play various roles, but primarily, yes, regulate and then ensure that we get some.
Is scholarship a core mandate of
No,
COCOBOD? So would that be criminal?
No, that would not. So
will cocoa roads be criminal?
Yes. Cocoa roads, yes, because that is one of the main reasons why. Because the problem we had is that if you look at 2020, let me get the dates right, 2018, 2019, and then 2020. So the 2018 to 2019, 2019 to 2020, 2020 to 2021 crop season. You then had a situation where we had awarded road contracts of 21 billion Ghana cedis when there was no budget allocation.
So that's wrong.
That's criminal.
Now it will be criminal. It was not, but it will be.
Because you see,
if the law passes.
You see, your budget makes provision for roads. So if your budget says you have 300 cedis for roads, how do you award contracts in a given year, okay, in excess of what you have budgeted for?
Okay.
What is the basis?
All right. So proceed with the other proposals.
That is banned. Mm-hmm. So no chief executive, no board chairman, no one can, even the president cannot call you, the chief executive tell you that, because in the law, if you proceed to do that, you will be held responsible. Mm-hmm. And the minister is empowered to intervene, you understand, where you do anything in respect of that. Secondly, is the policy to add value to cocoa beans. So we are moving to the point where up to 50%. We are not saying that it's immediately, but the aim is that up to 50% of
was the phrase up to used?
Yes, no, up to.
I thought it was said,
no, up to.
Okay.
I have the draft.
Okay.
It's up to 50%. So you can, because we don't have the capacity immediately to do 50% automatic, but the aim is that up to 50% of whatever we produce should be processed locally. And so that's why you are seeing, and that one of the good things about the proposals is the retooling of PBC and CPC. Okay. No, PBC was
reviving.
Yes, reviving it. It was on its knees. CPC was on its knees.
Okay.
If these two, PBC being the lead LBC for COCOBOD, if it's active and CPC is also active, that means that we are adding value. Mm-hmm. And Fiifi would agree with me that Cote d'Ivoire, Ghana produce 65%, and yet what is the percentage? 2% is what we get of the total value in the industry. If we are adding value, it means that it will create more jobs, you understand? So that is the aim. Those are some of the reforms that we are seeking to bring. Okay. Then the pricing mechanism. We intend to move away to a deregulated system, you understand?
Explain deregulated.
So at this moment, we have this PPRC committee, which meets, chaired by the minister responsible for cocoa at any given time. Mm-hmm. It has representation, hauliers, and all the industry players, the farmers, what have you. And then they will meet sometimes twice in a year to decide on the price of cocoa and then announce it before the season begins. Now, we are saying that it should be deregulated. So there's a formula that is going to be embedded in law. And it was part, again, of the turnaround strategy that was prepared by the former administration when they saw that things were not going well. Because there needs to be less politics when it comes to the issue of the price regulation. It is important because transparency in the pricing regime opens up the industry for other players to be involved. Because if the system is open and is transparent, any investor coming in knows that, look, at the end of the day, this is the formula that is going to be used in setting pricing. And the aim also is that we want to invite private sector participation in the plantation farming. That's the way to go. The future of cocoa is plantation farming, so that we can produce in the larger volumes that we need to increase our production capacity. Okay. And to do that, you need to make your system transparent, so that the pricing regime is important. And so we are going to embed in the law that pricing mechanism which is deregulated, apolitical, and you can see clearly the factors. So once the factors kick in, and just like it happens in neighboring countries, if the price goes up, everybody sees that the price is up, so automatically the formula will adjust. If it goes down, everybody knows that this is the formula.
But COCOBOD does, is it forward pricing you call it?
Oh,
does it mean that then you cannot do that henceforth?
No, not at all. But you see the
because
pricing,
you buy ahead of the season.
So
where deregulation, as I understand it, is like what happens at the fuel stations.
There's also a shift in funding. So previously you were doing the syndicated loans, okay? Now the policy directive is that let's look inwards. We are going to raise funds locally to fund our purchase of.
Is that what we always do from the local banks?
No. So but it's less. You have local banks as part of the syndication, but it is normally a foreign-led event. Okay. You know, that's why you do the roadshow and all of it. But now we want to look inward. You understand? Make us less vulnerable. Okay. You understand? And of course, if we say that our economy has grown, the economic factors are better, why not?
It should reflect.
Very well. You understand?
I have a question for you. So you have these beautiful ideas.
Yes.
Except that you only realized them when you ran into trouble.
Oh.
You are using the problems you have. You are covering the problems currently by this your rollout of a policy. If you had a policy you wanted to roll, you have done it since last year.
No, see.
You don't come and bring that in the week when farmers are saying pay us our money.
Not at all. It is, see, when you have a crisis, you must also have a solution. But immediate solution is there. No, so the immediate solution.
What you have announced here, this is long term. So not the short term thing that the farmer needs.
So there was a short term solution in terms of the fact that the order is released. There must be a release of funds for the purchase.
So let's deal with that short term. So let's deal with that short term one. That you have given the farmers a haircut. Where haircut here means you told them you give them 3,006, you are giving them 2,004. That is taking money from their pockets. When they have also budgeted their future and everything, you have slashed it by 1,000. That's a big deal.
The reality is that if we don't take these measures now, you may end up not even having an industry to work with.
Yeah, but it could be a lack of foresight and management. You should have predicted and made arrangements for that. You waited, the horses have bolted, you are now closing the stable.
So you started off by asking us to deal with the proposals. If you had started us to find out what the causes were as to why we are here, then I would have moved.
What are the causes? What caused this?
So now you are.
And don't forget you've been in power for 1 year.
Oh.
You know what Nii Kpakpo wants to do? His briefing note was programmed in a certain way.
No.
So the way you started the conversation,
no. He knew he was coming to meet me. He knows that I wouldn't go on script. So
Omaro,
ignore him.
I enjoyed the fact that I thought you wanted us to move to the solutions,
yes,
rather than go do, because
I want to front load the problem.
Yes, what the causes, you see, when I was talking about the proposed solutions, I never saw my brother Fiifi shake his head too much about what he thought the proposals. He would differ in terms of maybe some implementation. He will have policy ideas.
Let's go back to.
But there must be the recognition that you cannot then we must have been a very reckless administration who came in and decided to turn everything upside down, and now we have a crisis. That would mean that this administration really must have, been criminally negligent to bring us to have that. This is a problem that Fiifi would agree didn't start from this administration.
That's the reason
we didn't come to meet a syndicated loan system.
Yes.
That is an inheritance that has been bequeathed to every single administration in the past 30-something years.
Yes, but the win that's of that. It was independence. We should be celebrating.
Omaro, if I make the point and then you land, I make the point. Not that I don't enjoy that.
I'm just trying to let you know.
I can go in that direction.
No, I'm just trying to say that they saved you.
They saved us.
Yes, they saved the country.
Why did they leave that system? They enjoyed it. Every other administration, from 1993, is it correct? 93, 92, 93. Since every administration comes and meets syndicated loan. So if you don't do anything at all, leave it like that.
Why? So you want the syndicated loan to...
I said, if you didn't do anything at all,
why
leave it like that.
Why,
the saying is that if you don't even like your in-law, don't be calling him a thief, right? So leave the system as you came to meet it.
So is the scrapping of the syndicated loan the reason you run into the problems you run into?
The scrapping of the syndicated loan. The non-availability of the syndicated loan system. You understand?
But an alternative was left for you.
Hold on. What alternative? That the buyer now becomes the one to choose when he will fund and what he will not fund. That was not a viable system. Because clearly, the only incentive for the buyer to continue with that particular policy was because he had secured for himself contracts of what, $2,600. That was very advantageous. So if the market price was $9,000 or $10,000, the average $9,000, obviously, it makes financial sense for him to fund a contract that was supplying him beans at $2,600. Which businessman will not take that option? But you always must have it as an analyst that immediately that contract that he had secured for himself, which meant that you had to give him roughly about 300,000 plus beans on at that price. Once you finish supplying him that, what was his incentive to continue with that particular process? He wouldn't. You had roughly about 300,000 bills to supply at 2,600. He has locked you in on that contract. Yes, you would get new contracts as you supply him with that. But once that was done, what was the incentive of the buyer to continue at that system at that price? Funding you, pre-financing you. He wouldn't do it. As opposed to when you sign your contracts, you understand, and forward sale by receiving the cash from the syndicated banks. Why wouldn't that be a better system?
Nii Kpakpo, as of the time you agreed that you would give the farmers 3,600, as the lawyer said, you were corpus mentis, you were very correct in your head. You did all your calculations. It wasn't, you just didn't hit your tie.
But what was the market price?
No, I'm saying that you didn't hit your tie and just came up with a figure. There was some calculation that went into that.
That's the whole purpose of the pricing committee.
So how come a few months on now, you are going back to say to this
because
same
you have
farmer,
to mop up. So there's this
who has also budgeted with 3,000 and they're giving 2,000.
You have in this season been able to buy almost 500,000 plus beans at a certain price. Then you have some left. You understand? Our hope was that this system would have been able to cover the last the quantity that was there, because we had plans to change the model as at now. But unfortunately, once the price tanked, you understand, that last quantity became a problem, because our beans now at the price that we were prepared to sell was not attractive for buyers to continue to fund. And remember that the system you have is a buyers-led system. So if the buyers decide not to fund it and move to Cote d'Ivoire or Togo where the prices are less, you can't force them. You don't have the syndicated loan where you have the money and you are paying LBCs to buy the beans. You have a system where it is the buyer that gives you a certain amount to start with, and then when you complete, then he gives you the last percentage, which was about 40%. Now it was not available and your pricing was not competitive. So there was a cash problem. And you have to confront it. So that is what called for the government intervention. Because other than that, the system will collapse.
Have you considered the political ramifications of this
decision? Obviously. There's
or because we are 4 years away from election, you are
please,
not afraid?
Not 4 years away. We are 2 years away from election.
3 years.
Roughly 3 years. But
so you know that, people will forget.
Whatever it is better to take the bitter pill now and to be able to come up with a plan that deals with this problem once and for all. That is the track record, at least, of this particular president.
If it was 2028,
with everything.
If it was 2028, would you have taken that? Would you have made us swallow that bitter pill? If it was 2028, would you have? I'm
not a soothsayer, so I can't predict the
Very
future.
well.
What I know is that we have a present problem. The government has come out with clear policy, because we are an implementation agency. So once policy has come out, it's our duty now to implement. And we always wanted this conversation to also be had. The cocoa industry needed this hard conversation. We needed to be at the front of this. We have had the opportunity. Luckily, based on these new policies, PPC is going to be revitalized. CPC is going to be revitalized. For me, those are the two great things that we move away with. If these two entities function the way they are supposed to function, this will be a game changer for Ghana.
Let me bring in Fiifi. Fiifi, when you were at COCOBOD, were there plans to reform COCOBOD? If there weren't, what do you make of these reforms? They should be exciting and worth celebrating.
Well, there were plans.
There were plans.
Nii has already alluded to
So this is a build-up from there?
Yes, a build-up. In fact, the committee which he chaired, his predecessor was the one who was chairing that committee. We have started the process. They only continued from where that committee left off. So these are ideas already floated. Of course, some of them are not exactly as was proposed, and then there have been some changes to it, including the one he talks about, criminalizing what he called as non-core activity. It was an interesting when he was responding to the question as to whether or not scholarship was a core activity.
And he said yes.
And he said yes, but then he said roads are not core activity. Why do we have cocoa roads? Cocoa roads is just to facilitate the cocoa from the hinterlands, to make it accessible to the port. I remember one day we were somewhere in Sefi, and there was this huge hill we're trying to climb. All the cars that attempted turned back the opposite direction. We couldn't access those roads. So when you get to these communities, and these are typical cocoa communities, there's the need for you to create access, because if the cocoa is harvested and then you cannot access them, then what is the point? If you have the fertilizer and then you cannot get them to the cocoa farms, if you have the fungicides and all that and you cannot get them, then how are you promoting the sustainability of the cocoa industry? But well, to them now, it is not a core activity. They don't see the essence of constructing roads, and for that reason, they are going to criminalize it. That's fine. There's nothing wrong. I know that the conversation at the time was that let us move all these cocoa activities to the Ministry of Roads for them to handle that. But to criminalize it, well, that is a policy government has decided to move with.
Okay.
But so just to say that...
so the policies are good? Including the up to 50%?
No, but that is one funny one.
Why?
President Akufo-Addo, when he took over, actually instructed COCOBOD that try to get to 50% of processing your cocoa locally. Indeed, when the MPP took over, we were processing about 23% of our cocoa locally. At the time the MPP was leaving office, we were processing 42% of it.
42?
42. From
as 20, of locally?
Yeah, locally. So if you move it
so
from...
up to 50 from 42 is...
It's not significant.
It's not even specific.
Yeah, it's not even specific. I am saying that at the time the MPP took over, we were processing 23%. At the time the MPP was leaving office, we were processing...
do you know the state of PBC?
42%. PBC is not the only processing company in Ghana. Yes. You have PBC, you have Niche, you have the one in Takoradi, you have Olam, Wamco. There are several other processing. I am only telling you that we are processing already 42%. So if government says that let's move it to up to 50%, that's not significant, and that's not going to make any impact.
There's a difference between capacity, installed capacity, and ability to
okay, so he has said that they left 42, maybe installed capacity.
Not installed capacity, that is processed cocoa.
That's how much we process, yes, 42%.
42%, but what they have to tell us, that this so-called processing they are talking about, what type of processing are we referring to? Because you have primary processing, you have secondary and tertiary. That is when you get to the chocolate, you have to the creams and other confectionaries.
Akpo, can you help us with that information when you have it? Okay.
He doesn't have that one. Okay, that's fine. So they have to tell us what that means. In any case, it's also talked about the fact that, well, all local processing companies, these local processing companies, the Barrys, the Olams and Co., they are agents of bigger multinationals out there. So all that they are supposed to do is to turn it into liquor, butter or cake, and then it is shipped to their mother companies for them to work with it.
So there's processing, but it doesn't really...
It is primary. Mm-hmm. So that's why I wanted him to tell us what type of processing are they talking about. Okay. Because that will help us in this whole conversation.
Okay. So that's on the general policy. Let's talk about the specific issue of the farmers' money being cut. It is a necessary evil. It's a bitter pill that has to be swallowed now to save the whole sector, he says.
It is not. It is actually an act of cruelty against the poor cocoa farmer. I say so because I think the lack of candor in the conversation by COCOBOD officials and government is one that must not happen at this time. And they are taking the farmers for granted. They are disrespecting the cocoa farmers in this whole engagement. I listened to the finance minister, and he said that based on what is happening, government has decided to mitigate the effect on the cocoa farmer. How worse would they have gotten? If the cocoa farmer has not been paid for over 3 months, and the only thing you can do for the cocoa farmer is to reduce his income by about 30%, and you are saying that you are mitigating the effect on the cocoa farmer. Really, is that the mitigation you can give the cocoa farmer? What you need to do, or what you need to ask yourself at this point, is that the chief executive of COCOBOD, his head of operations, who is the technical advisor on the producer price review committee, the minister for finance, who chaired the producer price review committee, what are they losing in the scheme of things? In this mess we find ourselves in, they and of course the sales executive committee are to blame for the problem we face. But none of them is going to suffer in the scheme of things. But the poor cocoa farmer is the one who is to suffer. And then the minister says, well, we are helping you, cocoa farmer. Your situation could have been worse than that. How worse? The only reason why we are here, and I like the question you asked about the fact that, so this whole policy, is it the time to launch the policy? The policy is there. It's been worked on. Government needed to find a way of trying to expand the conversation, take attention from the real issue of the cocoa farmer not being paid for about 4 months, the cocoa farmer income getting reduced for about 30%, expand the conversation. So when we sit at this table, instead of focusing on the injustice that has been meted out to the cocoa farmer, we rather talk about policy changes.
Reforms.
We rather talk about reforms.
But which are also very necessary
they
for the sector.
They are necessary, but I believe that these reforms, I am very open to engaging in a conversation that look at the reforms and how it will serve the cocoa industry.
Okay.
But it is only diluting the real issue, because I heard the finance minister say that they have directed COCOBOD to pay cocoa farmers. Already, COCOBOD has 11 billion Ghana cedi debt owed to cocoa farmers, which they have not paid. Why have they not paid? They do not have the money to pay. So if the finance minister says, I have directed you to go and pay with which money?
No, the cabinet has directed the finance minister to ensure that payment is made. That means that government is going to make money available.
Did they say that?
Yes.
Did you hear that?
That is the directive.
That was not heard.
No.
You know what? No. We are at such a critical stage where people have worked the whole year. And when they are supposed to be paid for 4 months, they have not been paid. And when you are communicating to them what you are doing about it, at least the little you can do is to have clarity.
That's what. The clarity is that
the minister said.
There's a directive.
You know what, Sandra? You can play the soundbite. The minister said, government directed that COCOBOD must pay them.
So that's the difference.
But
here.
if the money was to come from Ministry of Finance, then the minister should have said that government has directed Ministry of Finance to make money available to COCOBOD.
Obaru,
yes.
The cabinet has directly said.
Okay, let me hear what Kpakpo is saying. Let me hear you, and then if there's a need to play the audio, we'll do so.
But I don't even understand why this will be an issue.
It is an issue
because this week,
because the money is not there.
Relaxes. So you say Ghana is not bankrupt too.
I'm not saying Ghana is bankrupt. The minister only said COCOBOD must provide the money.
What's your fear?
My fear is
that will pay the farmers.
If Ministry of Finance,
that you don't want us to pay the farmers.
Let's hear him.
If the minister is not going to make the money available to COCOBOD and only say that I'm directing you, COCOBOD, go and pay, COCOBOD will not be able to pay. So what we need to hear from the minister is that based on what has happened, I am to release X amount of money to COCOBOD for COCOBOD to pay the farmers.
They went for cabinet meeting.
Exactly.
And the president was there.
That's a difference.
The finance minister will not come out and make a statement like this. I'm sure they would have.
The source of the money is important, Sandra. Don't let us lose sight of that. The source of the money is important because we know that based on what has happened, COCOBOD already has 11 billion CTRs on their desk to pay the cocoa farmer. They have not been able to do that. So if you only tell them, go and pay, how would they pay? We must ask that question.
Let me hear from their last indicated loan. They took money and at some point they were not able to pay. It was the Ministry of Finance that stepped in and gave them a bridging facility, which is still on our books.
So he wants to know this time around.
And I'm telling him that
what will happen?
Hold on. I'm telling you that the ministry has given a directive. You understand? As in, the government has given a directive to the minister to pay. And they will make money available for payment.
But the minister is also then directing COCOBOD. And he's saying that the directions are becoming plenty.
This week,
the money will come.
Wait and hear whether the money are not being paid.
Let me bring in Paul Adumochi.
I would love to hear Paul, but I think that there should be clarity in what we are doing. I saw a TikTok video recorded by the head of public affairs at COCOBOD.
Jerome Mochi.
Yes. No, not Jerome Sam. In December, and this is what he said. There was somebody, I think he said the deputy chief executive in charge of finance. He was supposed to sign a check for farmers to get paid. He traveled. And that is the... I said it's a TikTok video he recorded. You can check it. And that is why farmers... I'm not personalizing.
Let the man speak. If it's public, you can talk.
He recorded, it was on his TikTok account. And that is why farmers have not been paid. Allow. He said that when this conversation started, we heard their spokesperson say that, we heard the chief executive say same, that they are going to pay cocoa farmers. That has not happened. I am only asking this question because we want certainty and clarity. Because what we are talking about is about the cocoa farmers' income.
Of course.
Which has not been paid for over 3 months. So if you are providing any information at this time, it is important that you do not leave us hanging. There must not be any lacuna.
But you said this video was recorded in December.
Yes.
So why are we talking about it now?
Because they have not been paid still.
Oh, okay.
If it was recorded in December and immediately, if you told me that Umar Sandra is supposed to come and sign a check and I will get paid, he traveled. Umar Sandra is back after a month, I have not been paid. If you tell me that the same Umar Sandra will pay me, I must question it.
So you don't believe it?
I believe that there must be some clarity. Okay. But just a quick one before my senior Paul comes in. Don't let us get this thing diluted. We are only here because the Producer Price Review Committee met. At the Producer Price Review Committee, you should give the farmer a guaranteed price. And you can only arrive at a guaranteed price when you have done some forward sales and you have also projected right. That is when you get the guaranteed price. Okay. At that meeting, they told us that they've taken all factors into consideration and they can get a guaranteed price of 3,620 for the cocoa farmer. They were giving the farmer, I think, 5,040, and then between 5,040 and 7,200, the remaining will be for the industry cost. Only for them to come and tell us today that what we guarantee you, the 7,200 we guaranteed, we failed. We didn't get it. So now we have another price, which is 4,100. What is even the guarantee that this so-called 4,001, the new producer price they are announcing today, they will be able to go with it? Because at the time they are talking about this, it was 4,100. Today, we are talking about 3,200. So what gives you that comfort? That these people will respect what they have given to the cocoa farmer. Okay. The last thing you need at this point in time is people who will come to you, give you information which you cannot rely on. The farmers are very vulnerable, and this is not how we should treat them.
Joe Jackson, good morning and welcome to the show. How are you doing? I like your grey beard. When I grow up, I want to have a grey beard like that. Paul, the issue of cocoa is a national security matter almost, is it not? And the government says the decision that was announced ought to be announced. My question is this the time that we should be making the reforms? Well, reforms are necessary, but the hidden matter is the price of cocoa. You make an offer, the offer is accepted, and then you come back and give a counter offer. politically looking at this, it may be suicidal if it was an election year, but it's not an election year. So it appears the government has taken this bold decision, and this is the right time they can take this decision.
Well, I think that the matters of cocoa have more than one strand to it. Listening to an argument on Thursday night, I understood that there's a hedging crisis as part of the problem. The politicians who like to blame each other. But the important thing is that however we toss the matter around, the question is the cocoa farmer happy? If we answer that question in the affirmative, then there's no problem. But if we answer that question in the negative, then there is a problem. And it is important for us to deal with that problem rather than politicize it and blame each other. If, however, there are obvious political missteps, it must be put straight clear on the table. But this decision that was made is the reason why we are where we are. Often in Ghana, when something happens, we like to pussyfoot about it, beat about the bush without really nailing it on the responsibility. If there has been dereliction of duty, let us say so. I am wondering why it is taking the government that long to ask the Attorney General to go and look at something. Because right from the beginning of 2024, the leadership of COCOBOD had been alleging that there had been wrongdoing. In all the interviews that had been conducted, Randy Abbey had alleged that there had been wrongdoing. He had said they had inherited cocoa unsold. He had said they had gone to discover something in the bush. All of those things had been said. No matters of responsibility were raised. And I really...
No legal step taken.
I really asked myself that question. That this COCOBOD matter, why don't they prosecute? Because we always hear wild allegations of something that is supposed to have happened, which is serious. And nothing happens. I was just reading on social media right now. Somebody says, why is it taking COCOBOD 12 months to think about a legal action? So that began to, people began to be wary of the complaints from COCOBOD. Because it started in March 2024, every interview there was complaints about something that had happened. So, but somehow nothing was happening. Now the president, after 12 months, says the Attorney General should look at it. If we look at the trajectory of how long it takes the Attorney General to look at matters involving, for instance, Yamin, the Ashanti Regional... Joseph Yamin, the Ashanti Regional Chairman of the MP, the National Organizer of the NDC. Now, the National Organizer of the NDC was said to have been investigated for something relating to Galamsey. Mm-hmm. Time after time, we have not heard anything about it.
He and the Vice Chairman.
Yes, so when the President says, go and investigate something, after 1 year of we hearing the thing, and the investigation is now going to begin, we are not so sure what we are going to find. What is also important is that whatever has happened, we all have to then be honest with ourselves and look at whether the regime as existed in terms of everything else can be sustained. Is it a sustainable regime, or should the regime change? If there has to be some change, we all have to be honest about it.
The regime is a
selling regime, all of the things they do, whether this, what CMC does, what they do in London, what they do with sports buying, what they do with futures, what they do with hedging, is not regulated. There's no CI governing it. Is it time for us to have a bit more transparency in the way in which COCOBOD works, so that I can go to my office in the morning, open my laptop and check what COCOBOD is doing, and I'll see that COCOBOD have sold 2 spots of cocoa today, or COCOBOD have hedged. COCOBOD hedge book has just been announced that for the year 2020. We don't get that information, so we really don't know what is happening. It's also important for politicians also to understand that some areas of responsibility, some areas of administrative responsibility are quite technical, and they do not lend themselves to common sense. You see, you can apply common sense in many, many ways, but there are things that are very technical that you can't use common sense to do. One of them that people find out, the people who go and study law, one of the things they find out is that after entering the law classroom, they get to know that law is not common sense at all. Sometimes they can even be at variance with what common sense thinks should be the outcome and what the law prescribes the outcome to be. So there are things that are not common sense. There are things that are common sense, and there may be many that are common sense, but there are some positions that are not common sense positions. You must have a training in some of the 1 or 2 or 3 of the areas. You see, some jobs come in 3 areas. It can come as telecoms, it comes as law, and it also comes as maybe administrative strength. You must at least have one of them. A television job, for instance, comes in 2 or 3 ways. It comes as content, it comes as technical, it comes as marketing. You can't be a leader of a television company when you don't have any of these three. You can have all the common sense in the world, but it is not common sense. You really must have a certain technical training. And it's time that our politicians begin to understand that when we are in opposition and we think that, oh, this job is juicy. Yes, it may be juicy, but what does it require? Am I able to deliver it? And the leaders who also give these appointments must evaluate our people well and not just give appointments because somebody is my political friend and I think that this place is juicy and so I have to take him. I was making a point to someone last night that when I was growing up, in 2004 elections, for instance, the polling booth, those elections that happen on weekdays, the polling booth at the civil service places, they were usually empty. So Ministry of Trade, there was a polling station there. The civil servants were not coming to vote. They were not interested. They were conversing and all of that. Today, 2024 election, you take the poll, you see a long line of civil servants who want to vote. Do you know why? The civil servants are becoming frustrated that almost every job is being taken over by politics. That was not the way it used to be. A job like Director General of NCA, Director General of NPA, National Petroleum Authority, all of these
were civil servants.
Were civil service positions. Chief Director is the only one left. And I bet you the way we are going, by the next 2 election cycles, Chief Director will be a full political position. It also has to speak to the honesty and the dishonesty in our society. In America, they believe that every civil servant is political. So when they are changing, they change every civil servant and everyone comes. They don't even call them civil servants. Those who occupy those roles, directorship roles, they believe that they are all political. Mm-hmm. So you go out. In Britain, they say that the civil servant is permanent and all the acronyms you give. He's permanent, he's anonymous, and there's a third one of the Ghanaian civil service. That's what we use now. The point I'm making is that increasingly we are bringing in all the civil service positions to be made into political appointments. I'm not saying it's right or that is wrong. Mm-hmm. We have to decide where we are going with the democracy. Are we going full throttle America, where the civil service is a political position? When President Kufuor came in, he tried to manage it with what did they used to call them? What Akoto said was near the Ministry of Finance. Special assistants who were political appointees, but increasingly the special assistant's role was becoming a problem because where do you fit him in the organogram? It was becoming a difficulty. He's a political appointee. So now the politicians influence the existing organogram and now appoints budget director, chief director, go to the Ministry of Finance. That's the kind of thing that's happening. So
do you see this at COCOBOD and you want these things removed from COCOBOD? No, is that where you are going
with? This COCOBOD thing is bringing to us that conversation that when politicians take over and they are distributing political positions, they must understand that some of it is not many, maybe 20% of it is technical. You can take your person there, that's fine, but you have to be sure that he's technically competent. The same way that you can't make anybody the Attorney General. The Attorney General is a political appointment.
Is that a peculiar case? Yes. Anything else is different?
That's what I'm saying. Every president, when he's appointing an Attorney General, he goes through a process because there's a kind of qualification required for it. There are certain jobs that are very technical. So the governor of the Bank of Ghana, you can't take me, that I'm your friend, and so you make me the governor of the Bank of Ghana. No, that's very wrong. Or even the deputy governor of the Bank of Ghana. You can't make me deputy governor of the Bank of Ghana.
But the same will not apply to COCOBOD. You can put anybody there,
you shouldn't
provided the person has a managerial
Now that
competence.
We are understanding that COCOBOD has a few strands to it. If you want to put somebody who is a seasoned treasury banker at COCOBOD, you are fine to do that. From what we are seeing COCOBOD does, these are the jobs. A lawyer, seasoned practice, you can put that person there. There are some, it's not a common sense job. That's all I'm trying to make.
A journalist can fit a lot of roles.
Well, it depends on the training of the journalist. What I'm saying is that some technical training is required to lead COCOBOD.
Okay.
Anybody can say what they want, that it's simple, you are the boss, you can look at it. Yeah. You may not need the same technical training to lead COCOBOD as to lead Lands Commission.
Okay.
Yes, Lands Commission may be a basically commonsensical situation with a bit of history, you can do it. COCOBOD, you require something else. I won't say you require more, you require something else. Director General of the NCA. You cannot just be Director General of the NCA because you have common sense.
You should know what megahertz means.
You either are an engineer, you are a marketer because they market, or you're a lawyer because they have legal regimes that govern them. They go to all of these ISO places and they are dealing with international protocols. So it's important that we get that conversation straight. The good thing for politicians is that most of the jobs are commonsensical, but those that are not commonsensical, let's arrive at it and understand that this one is not commonsensical. Is
it common sense that the government decides, listen, we can't pay 3,006 and sustain the industry, so let's pay 2,000 2006 now. That's the most commonsensical thing to do. That's what cabinet came out. Do you hold the view that it's a commonsensical thing to do, that let's reduce or let's shift the burden to the farmer? Or we should have gone for a loan to still give the farmer what he needs?
The issue in there is not even about the conclusion or the outcome that they've come to. The issue in there is the trust of politicians. That's really the issue that's playing out. The farmers are not calculating and saying that, oh, they calculated it into 3 and they've given us 1. No. The farmers are saying that given all the circumstances, you were aware as opposition. In fact, the group of NDC people who ran the campaign in 2024, they are even better than opposition because they are former government. Most of them speaking. Arto Forsen was at the Ministry of Finance. He clearly knows what cocoa is about. He can't say that he's not a novice like me. He knew what cocoa is about. President John Dramani Mahama.
Sorry, he was actually a board member
of COCOBOD.
Of COCOBOD as a deputy finance
by
minister.
reason of the deputy finance minister. Yes.
Also a board member.
So Arto Forsen knows what he's talking about when it comes to speak about cocoa. President John Dramani Mahama had been president in the sector. Indeed, the issues of the NDC's COCOBOD was on trial during the campaign. And so the NDC was in a hurry to show that the trial going on was a scam and that COCOBOD had been better managed by them and that it was being poorly managed by the Akufo-Addo administration. And all of that was applied to support the software issues around the Opuni trial, which eventually the NDC, should I say, succeeded because they actually terminated the trial. So we don't actually get to know the issues that were raised by the prosecution. We don't get a judge to pronounce on them that this happened at COCOBOD, this was wrong, this happened at COCOBOD, this was wrong, and that was right. The NDC proceeded to enter the nolle prosequi on the justification that the things that they had told Ghanaians at COCOBOD was correct. They did that having been buoyed by the fact that Ghanaians had endorsed them 57%. And so they were telling Ghanaians that, yes, you agreed with us that there was something wrong with COCOBOD, that we had a solution. And so we are stopping this case. It's not going anywhere. Now COCOBOD is in our hands. We'll fix it. That is the matter being determined today. It's not the logical, the commonsensical of it. It is about a group of people who ought to know what is in the kitty, who came to tell us what they will be able to achieve. And you will see that in his final sessional address to Parliament. President Akufo-Addo, the video is going around now. President Akufo-Addo doubted before the Parliament whether indeed the campaign promise of paying cocoa farmers 6,000 was realizable. He doubted it because he was president. He was sitting there. He knew, and I'm guessing that all the cocoa experts knew that that promise was not going anywhere. I even suspect that some of the people who made the promise were aware of it, but the ultimate aim was to win votes, and so they did it. So what is happening right now is a test of politicians, and all politicians ought to be worried because the cocoa farmer is thinking that he has been deceived. And if he has been deceived by politicians, he's losing interest in politics, he's losing interest in the democracy. He's losing interest in another politician come and stand in front of him in 2028 and say that I will do it. He said, oh, it's not the same thing NDC people said. They couldn't do it. So that's really the crux of the matter. It's a threat to democracy.
What's the role of force majeure in this matter? Because they will say to you that these were our predictions that we're working with. It did not work, and we are not lying to people. We are being honest. We are saying to them that this is the international market price, and we can't do anything. So we have to go with it.
If that was the agenda set before, that whenever we come to power, we will look at the international price. Today, the international price is this. If we were in power today at this international price, we will give you this because we can do this and that and that and that. If ever we are in power and the international price is anything, we will give you this amount of it. So they don't put any figure to it. And so they move on like that. But as I'm saying, this is really a threat to democracy because it's evaluating the trust that you can give politicians. What is the weight of trust that you can give to political promises?
We'll find solutions after this break. This is a big issue on ChannelOne television on 97.3 CTFM. I have to hear from Joe Jackson and Franklin Cudjoe. They will find solution around this table, and we'll talk about vote buying and how the NDC handled Ayawaso East. Please stay with us. Yeah, welcome back. This is a big issue on ChannelOne television and on 97.3 CTFM. In studio, I have Fiifi Boafo. He's former head of public affairs at Ghana COCOBOD, and also Nii Kpakpo Samoa Addo, currently Solicitor General. He's like the Attorney General of COCOBOD. Paul Adumotre is host of Good Evening Ghana. Well, you don't want me to introduce you. Paul Adumotre is host of Good Evening Ghana. Franklin Cudjoe is president of Imani Africa. He's on Zoom. And then I have Joe Jackson, who is CEO of Dayless Finance. Joe, this is a finance matter, is it not? And is it the case that someone mismanaged the finances of cocoa and we are seeing what we are seeing, or it is a lack of foresight and prediction?
You see, I took a deep breath. I wish we could just say it was one issue. The first issue is this. Over time, we've all, the politics of this country have treated COCOBOD as if it was a piggy bank. So COCOBOD gets money, and then we use it to finance
Everything.
So COCOBOD got into a lot of activities that it didn't need to get to. Then over the last few years, and I'm talking the last 6, 7 years, maybe more, there was even no money. COCOBOD was making losses, and yet we still funded non-core items. So essentially, COCOBOD was bankrupt.
That's the reality.
That's the reality. COCOBOD was bankrupt or is bankrupt. Now, at the same time, so we have on one hand, we are in a very hard place because progressively we have raided COCOBOD, used it for other things, throw in copious amounts of corruption. We've raided COCOBOD.
I think that's a hard. That's problematic.
Because
if
hold on,
Mr. Jackson,
why don't you allow me to land first?
I will do so, but if you are accusing people of corruption, you must back it with evidence.
We have a cycle that's happening.
No, but to
hold
say
on. We have a cycle that's happening.
So say throw in an allegation of corruption.
A perception.
Okay. I've saved you. I'll send you invoice later.
Perception of corruption. 3 years ago, some of us were shouting and screaming. We don't have reports from COCOBOD. We don't have COCOBOD. Even the reports we have show sudden jumps in employment and are showing losses. Right? Now, the problem we have is that that's one of the issues we have. The other issue is that this has also this problem with the whole COCOBOD and I'll say the sector, because PBC is in disarray. Cocoa Marketing Company is in disarray. And this has also coincided in the last few months with a drop of the price of cocoa from where last year it was hovering, early last year it was hovering around 10,000, anything up to $10,000 a ton or $10 a kilo, and has now dropped between 3,000 and thereabouts. I mean, because it's a futures market, the price varies.
Yeah.
So we have, and what's happening is that we've got the two situations coming together at the same time. COCOBOD is in trouble. The cocoa sector is in trouble. And that flavor is enhanced by the fact that cocoa prices have also dropped. Indeed, one of the things that is not being said when we talk about this, Côte d'Ivoire has also dropped price.
It's not correct. That's not correct.
I beg to differ.
No, that is not correct.
Yes.
And Brazil is 5,702.
No, cocoa has dropped price, but not as badly as we have dropped price.
I am putting it on record. I have called CCC, the regulator for cocoa in Côte d'Ivoire, and they have not dropped price in Côte d'Ivoire.
So I have data here. So cocoa producer price in USD per kilogram, official versus current effective prices. The one for Ghana, the official current price 2025 is 5.16, and then we have the one for Côte d'Ivoire is 4.95, and then for
and the source of this information is
this
source is okay. So there's
please check the source, because
this data is
Finance Ministry.
Finance Ministry,
yeah,
dated
That's where I'm getting this data from.
Because
and it is part of it's a part of an article written by Janku, who is with Ise Legon.
I think there's a problem because you know what? I remember very well at the time COCOBOD. I'm only helping with some information. Okay. At the time COCOBOD announced the producer price, I remember COCOBOD came out to say that Ghana was paying more than Cote d'Ivoire. At the time, Cote d'Ivoire had not even announced their 2025-2026 cocoa price, and I think that data has been used. Recently, there were some people speculating that Cote d'Ivoire has reduced their price. I have checked from CCC, and that is not the case. Okay. Please go ahead.
So there are multiple challenges. The other challenge we have is that our forward sales, given the challenges of 2023, 2024, meant that we have some arrears we have to meet. So all of a sudden, we are in a position where there's a storm in the cocoa sector, and we have to face the storm. Of course, the politicians will call out. They will say, when I left, it was like this. And in this year, we made the highest profit. We made a profit in this year. And the only little caveat there that they won't tell you, for example, is that COCOBOD made, that profit was made in a year in which there was a haircut on cocoa bonds, so it kind of distorted the numbers. Then there will be a counter that you have hurt the farmers. Are the farmers hurt? Yes. The farmers are hurt. The farmers are not happy. But who would be happy when prices of their product on the international market has dropped, and you are passing on that price to them? The farmers would prefer to have a consistent, uniform price. That should have been achieved if we had some sort of stabilization fund. But remember where I started from, that the institutions are broke. And we have not been able to borrow any money. So there's no money to create that sort of stabilization that ideally
could have been used to. So a hedging of a sort. My question is financial management. We've seen what the government has done now. So the farmer is not happy.
The farmer is not happy.
And the farmer must not be happy, at least based on what we've seen. But overall, is Ghana happy because of the measure or the step taken by the government that let the farmer suffer for the ultimate good of the country?
It's a tough one. Because you see, there are two sides to the... Nothing is two sides to the story. But on one hand, cocoa farmers have about 800,000 households. I'm not even talking individuals. So multiplied by whatever number, some people say 4, some people say 6. You see the number of people who are going to be affected and who are not happy. Put that one to one side. But you see, the reality of the situation is that COCOBOD can't do any syndication. It is broke. It can't even pay what it has done. So we must use the bonds. I'm not, unfortunately, I'm not looking at it as if we have a choice. Some of the policies are announced, we don't have a choice. Because if you say, even as we said, to get to where we are, to get to be able to even issue the cocoa bonds, government is having to absorb huge sums of money, transferred to the Ministry of Finance and the Central Bank, transferred to the roads and highways. Still who owes? It's still the public purse that is being used. So, unfortunately, we all losers in this. We need cocoa. The cocoa sector was an important sector, not just because it's one of, before gold prices rose, it was one of the most important sources of foreign exchange in this country. It is still an important source of foreign exchange. it is still an important employer of people in the sector, and it's a source of pride. And that's why COCOBOD was set up. And unfortunately, there's been mission drift, bad mission drift on COCOBOD. So nobody is going to come out of this nice.
I'm going to come around and ask how to fix this permanently. Is it the reforms that's going to be the solution? Is it COCOBOD? Let me start with Franklin. Franklin, earlier when I spoke to you, you mentioned the whole nomenclature called COCOBOD and the challenges thereof. There are people who say, okay, so all of this happening, how come we are not seeing salary cuts at COCOBOD? Should we collapse COCOBOD and just allow the system to run as is? There's a view that actually could be the solution. Should we go for loans? Should we do some permanent hedging of a kind? I want us to find solution in 2 minutes each around the table. From you.
Well, as you realize, all the conversation that has happened points to one thing, that the state has become the greatest fiction at whose expense everybody wants to live. You know, we don't create anything. Farmers break their backs. And by the way, there's a history, long history of this cocoa sector, by the way. I mean, if you read the works of, I've forgotten the lady's name, way back in the 40s. And then Peter Barr, the economist, the development economist who worked in West Africa. He wrote tomes about the way cocoa has been managed and the way the colonial setup had made sure that cocoa was regulated and the state creamed off this deal. I tell you what, the state has always priced in a haircut for cocoa farmers from the 50s up to today. And so it's funny that we are here again. By the way, we're going to get to this point. You asked for solutions. You know, not long ago, I think I heard Paul Sox mention that Brazil is paying about $5,700, right? Paul, it will be interesting to know that the reason why Brazil could do that is because of the market forces. The state is nowhere near, the state is not allowed to play a role in the cocoa purchase and sale in Brazil. It's the market. So essentially what happens is that, look, the direct market access, farmers or cooperatives sell directly to processors or exporters. And what it means is that when world prices are high, they enjoy. And they pocket that immediately. And the same way, if the prices go low, they know exactly what has happened. In fact, in that market, there's the quality premiums that also gets a good price, which is why I'm sure you are getting the $5,700. Because the premium, because of the dynamic nature of the market, premium cocoa is priced higher. You understand? So essentially, the risks and rewards are shared. And the farmers know that when the prices are high, we benefit. When they are low, we also, lose. And the domestic processing industry is alive and vibrant. You understand? So, look, this market mindset is what I think we should all be encouraged. I do not understand why the state should be playing the role of collecting cocoa bags from farmers and then claiming they want to sell to outsiders, and then they cream off 30%. And then the whole edifice, and then the COCOBOD is always living large at the expense of farmers. It should never happen. Okay. The best way to solve this matter is to dismantle, in fact, restructure the whole COCOBOD. But COCOBOD, if you still want it to play a role, should get about maybe 5% or 8% of the proceeds, and let the 92% go to farmers. Farmers should form cooperatives, by the way, and get this thing going. Okay. I do not like this what I call interventionist that is just screaming on the back of heartbreaking farmers. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Franklin Cudjoe. Fiifi, solution. What should be the way forward? You have worked at COCOBOD. You are hoping to be CEO according to Kpakpo.
Oh, really?
Franklin thinks Franklin thinks COCOBOD is too powerful.
I have said it.
Don't say you're a politician. Or don't say no.
I've worked at COCOBOD. I think I've played my part. I'm looking at other things. Going back to COCOBOD is not what is on my mind.
Hey, don't say this.
Please go. It's not what
camera
is
zoom
on my
into his
mind.
face.
Yes. But let me get. Let me do the work for Nii Kpakpo on this. I share a different view from what Franklin is suggesting. Indeed, I have engaged Franklin on these issues because they did some work on cocoa and we engaged on that. Mm-hmm. I hold the position that scrapping COCOBOD is not the panacea.
Okay, of course.
Because if you realize how vulnerable these farmers are, and you want to expose them to these multinationals, how would the multinationals treat them? I'll give you an example.
Sorry. Just 1 second. Go and read Peter Barr. These cocoa farmers were haggling with prices with foreigners at the time. It's not new.
But Franklin, I respect your view, but I disagree.
Okay,
yes,
proceed.
that is your
All right,
position.
thank
I
you.
disagree.
Thank you.
Yes, I disagree because
Thank you.
these multinationals tell us, one of the fights we had with them was that they are doing sustainability programs. We did some research on the sustainability programs they were running in Ghana. And out of every $100, what was going to the cocoa farmer was $17. But they say that is the amount of money they are committing to sustainability programs in Ghana. I do not think that these farmers, if you leave them in the hands of the multinationals, it will be in the interest of the farmers. But beyond
So
that,
keep COCOBOD, but should you reduce the power of COCOBOD? Should you introduce private sector players? Should COCOBOD become a player rather than what COCOBOD
we've already
is now?
started that. From 1992, we had the deregulation. And that is where you have the license buying companies coming into the scheme of things.
But they are all subject to COCOBOD.
No, COCOBOD regulates them.
Okay.
COCOBOD gives them seed fund when we do the syndication. COCOBOD pays them. They deliver the cocoa to the cocoa marketing company. Note this. The government that is saying that, well, is bringing in private sector and all that, in the same vein is talking about PBC becoming the biggest bigger. I have nothing against it, but it runs against each other. At the time we are talking about private sector, we're also talking about state-owned. Because bear in mind, PBC used to be part of COCOBOD. And from 1992 became, resourcing PBC is fine, but government must be clear on exactly what it intends doing. I believe that there are some concerns in terms of how much we are committing to cocoa rows, and we believe that instead of criminalizing it, I would rather suggest that there's a quota. For example, if COCOBOD, a percentage of how much COCOBOD is earning, will be committed
To the roads.
to the routes.
But should the routes be at a specific area?
I will support that. I will not, because there are some places, unless there will be a clear commitment on the part of government that the roads in these communities will be constructed. You know what, Ghana, our road construction has not been about putting our money where our mouth is. It's about who can lobby better and getting their routes fixed. But if there will be commitment on the part of government that the roads will be constructed, why not? It takes the responsibility of COCOBOD.
Very well. Nii Kpakpo, let me hear from you too.
We can't go back. That COCOBOD route, cocoa routes issue was one of our biggest headaches when it came to our exposure. We can't go back to that. There's funding that is specifically being brought in by the Ministry of Finance, they signed this week, to deal with cocoa roads. The minister has also indicated that within the road fund, there is for emergencies, because one of the arguments that some people made was that, look, in certain emergencies, it becomes difficult to be able to raise money technically within a week to be able to, let's say, put a bridge that is destroyed in a cocoa growing area.
Okay.
The minister has made it clear there's provision within the road fund. We are not going back to the era where non-quasar core activities became the main issues that we're dealing with, and then they became a conduit for the award of dangerous contracts where no provisions were made in the budget. We can't go back there, and we are left with a burden of 26 billion Ghana cedis to deal with. Let's focus on our core
it is 4 billion. It is 4 billion.
No,
not
we've
6 billion.
done the rationalization.
So why are you continuing?
Hold on. You awarded.
The lack of candor I talk about in their communication.
No. Hold on.
The thing has been rationalized.
Stop attacking them. Let them answer me. Let them answer me.
I was the one.
There's one second.
listen.
There's something the NDC has done
What have
since
we
this
done?
cocoa matter came up. Instead of addressing the issues and let the public know the real facts, they've decided just to go on a tangent of painting the MPP black instead of addressing the issue. The cocoa road liability has been rationalized.
We rationalized it. You know what that's
So
going
why are
there?
you quoting
Hold
the
on.
previous
You
figure?
left us. You
This was a process that was started by the MPP administration. You've continued with the figure has changed.
You awarded contracts.
Kpakpo, we are looking at solutions.
Yes, I'm coming.
And it's creating problems instead of finding solutions.
Well, he came up with this that no, we should make provision for some of these cocoa roads within our law, so as to ensure that in case of emergencies or this thing, a certain portion. I'm saying that there's a good reason why we don't want to go back, because that system was abused to the point where you had exposure of 26.
To address the abuse.
26 billion Ghana cedis.
So
that cannot be.
You also agree that COCOBOD remains But
obviously,
should your salary be cut? People are saying the salary should be. Those are the messages I'm saying.
Well, that is the
Why
that,
can't the
will,
farmers
that one will
salary?
be made by the policymaker. We don't pay ourselves. So
Okay.
if the policymaker
you,
decides that
you pay yourself.
if the policymaker
It's the board.
He's an employee of COCOBOD.
No. It's the board secretary.
Yes.
COCOBOD salaries are not determined
Of
by
course.
the ministry.
Of course.
It is determined by COCOBOD.
Of
So
course.
if he sits here to say that they don't determine their salary, I must correct him.
Okay, board secretary. Joe.
Listen, you know, the problem always is this. We are faced with today's situation. How do we make sure we don't get there? The amount of transparency we will require from COCOBOD is enormous. The accountability is enormous. And we can't go through this cycle where essentially money is chopped, the institution is run down, then we need effectively what is a bailout. Because what has happened to COCOBOD now is that the public purse has assumed large sums of money, one for the roads and the other to bail it out, so that it can go back and borrow.
So the farmers are bailing out COCOBOD.
Not just the farmers. The farmers you see, with the two situations at stake. The price has fallen. There's no money to insulate the farmers from the falling price. So the farmers, you can't talk about it as a haircut. The farmers are just being made to face market prices. That's one situation, right? Which is not ideal for the farmers and not ideal for the long-term growth of our cocoa industry. But there's no money. Mm-hmm. The other side is that we are also conducting a bailout of COCOBOD from the public purse. And when you say somebody has assumed the debt, it sounds nice and easy. All it means is that the public purse is going to be asked to pay it. When you say something should be converted to equity, somebody has to put the money in there. So there's been a bailout on the public purse.
So there's public debt.
There's public debt. COCOBOD debt has now been turned to formally to our public debt and has added to that debt stock.
Okay.
Where is the accountability? What happens if COCOBOD doesn't publish its results? What happens if COCOBOD starts to make losses? Where are the mechanisms that we will put in place? If there's a reform, I want to see written in that law, if COCOBOD makes a loss over a certain period, there should be an automatic adjustment, just like we have a fiscal council for this country's finances. Where are the constraints on COCOBOD?
Same thing.
And then take out all those non-core issues. Cocoa roads, I'm sorry. There's a ministry that does roads.
Let it do it.
Let it do it. Liaise with the ministry to
Scholarship.
get your roads
How
done.
about scholarship? They don't do
Scholarship
secretary.
it's not like, you know the sad thing, scholarships are not a major, a significant
So the
part
promise
of the whole
to
process.
pension, the promise
They
to do health
are an
insurance to
emotive
pay
part
school
of the
fees.
process, but they are not a significant part of the process.
But that's
Very
cool.
well.
I have another issue.
Yes.
Should we be bailing out PBC? Should we be bailing out
CMC.
CMC?
Should we revive a CPC?
CPC? That's a big question.
You don't think we should revive if it's going to help in our processing?
Listen, the bailout required for PBC, for whom its properties have been garnished, effectively they've lost it. There's no head office. They have significant properties, but would it be easier to let it die than to revive it?
Okay. So weigh the options.
Weigh the options. Because if we revive it, who pays?
Okay.
Mario, it's you and I.
We'll have another public company.
We'll have another public company.
And we've seen how our public companies have been faring. Paul, let me conclude with you. Solutions to dealing with this COCOBOD matter. We don't want to sit around there talking about it in the future.
I think that the step in the right direction is bring a new bill to Parliament. That's one way, to the extent that civil society and industry people will be invited as part of Parliament's processes in completing the bill, especially at the second reading stage where these things can be allowed. they should do enough and extensive engagement with stakeholders. At the end of the day, what decisions have been made and how they impact COCOBOD's operations should be made sufficiently transparent. If you look at the gold industry, there's a bit more transparency in the gold industry than it appears to Ghanaians in the cocoa sector. So yes, we have to wait and see what happens.
Okay, very well.